Please welcome back our friend, former co-host, all-around great gal, Elisabeth Hasselbeck.
Listen, civil discourse is not dead. You know, with that one sentence, Elisabeth Hasselbeck really set the entire tone for her return to The View. It's a pretty bold claim in today's world, right? So the question is, can a show that's literally built on conflict actually prove that she's right? So today, we're going to dive deep into Elisabeth Hasselbeck's big return to The View, because honestly, it was a masterclass in the show's secret recipe. It's all about this mix of two key ingredients. You've got the spice of that fiery, can't-look-away debate, and then you have the substance, that glue of civility and connection that somehow holds it all together. Okay, so here's what we're looking at. First, we'll set the stage for her return. Then we'll see how she pretty much called her shot, predicting a spicy debate right before diving in. We'll look at the plea for civility that came next, a pretty surprising pivot to her new project, and finally, we'll put it all together to really decode The View's unique, and let's face it, enduring formula. To really get the impact here, you've got to remember who was walking back on that set. This wasn't just some random guest host. Elisabeth Hasselbeck was returning to the table 13 years after she left, and she was bringing a whole lot of history and some very high expectations for fireworks right along with her. And right out of the gate, she made it super clear this was about more than just a reunion. She framed the show's purpose as something much bigger, a catalyst that takes these intense conversations at the table and pushes them right into living rooms all across the country. And this right here is where you see her expert understanding of how the show works. She knew the audience was expecting drama, so instead of trying to avoid it, she just leaned right in, basically telling everyone, okay, get ready. And this quote just brilliantly illustrates the whole point we're talking about. She predicts the spice, the conflict, the heat, but she immediately cushions it with the substance, that reminder of friendship and mutual respect. She's basically laying out the show's entire game plan before the first debate even kicks off. So that prediction about things getting spicy, it didn't take long at all to deliver on that promise. I mean, within minutes, the conversation turned to politics, and the temperature at that table just skyrocketed. And we're not talking about softball topics here. The panel dove headfirst into some of the absolute most polarizing issues in the country today. Foreign policy with Iran, the next presidential election, and of course, the topic that always gets things going, Donald Trump. And there it is, the absolute peak of the spice. By proudly declaring her vote for Trump, Hasselbeck created that exact tense, confrontational moment that everyone was waiting for. This is the raw, unfiltered disagreement that truly defines the show. But here's the thing, just as important as the conflict is the show's signature move, the whiplash. As one person put it, they can go from a shouting match over war to a casual chat about the best vibrator to use without even blinking. And that jarring pivot, it's not a mistake. It's a core part of the whole formula. But see, that fire is never allowed to just burn out of control. Just as quickly as the spice is introduced, the hosts pivot to the substance. It's a really deliberate shift, moving from that conflict right back to a message of unity. And this right here is the absolute core of the substance. Hasselbeck offers this really powerful metaphor, and it's not just a nice sentiment, it's like a functional operating principle for the show. The whole idea is that you can fiercely defend your position, but you also have to maintain that human connection. It's this constant, active plea to disagree better, which is, arguably the hardest part of the entire equation. So let's just lay it all out here. On one side, you have the spice. The heated debate, the clash over Trump, all that tension. And on the other, you have the substance, those constant affirmations of love, the idea that disagreement actually makes them stronger, and that they can hold hands through it all. This isn't an accident, it is a design. And then in another classic View pivot, the show shifts gears completely, from the political trenches to something way more personal and foundational for Hasselbeck. The topic is her new children's book. It's called God's Masterpiece. And the core message, which is really rooted in her faith, is that every single child has this inherent value and purpose. She even calls it her art vision for kids. And let's just pause on this contrast for a second, because it is fascinating. After a segment that was fueled by the very political division that defines our era, her focus shifts entirely to protecting the identity and value of children. It really makes you wonder, right? Is this book a direct reaction to all that spice? Is it her attempt to create this substance, that value, that civility that gets so lost in the public square? It's just a really powerful pivot from public conflict to personal purpose. So, how do all these pieces fit together? You've got the fiery politics, the pleas for civility, the pivot to her book. Well, it all points back to one thing: the show's incredibly deliberate and incredibly successful formula. Hasselbeck's appearance was just a perfect microcosm of how The View operates. You introduce the spice, you let the genuine, authentic conflict play out, and then you follow it up with the substance, a reaffirmation of that personal bond. And then the next day, you do it all over again. And this right here is the key takeaway from her entire appearance. That roller coaster of fighting and then making up, it isn't a bug in the system, it is the system. The friction is the feature. The show is fundamentally built on the idea that you can have both the spice and the substance at the very same table. Which, of course, leaves us with one final question. Is this spice and substance model a healthy template for real-world discourse, or is it just a very, very effective formula for great television? The answer might be a little bit of both, but it's a question that's definitely worth asking the next time you see a heated debate on your screen.